Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss the new stories we share. Let's begin. The girl was sitting in the rain when I first saw her. Not under the bus stop shelter. Not beneath the awning of the feed store. Just sitting there in her wheelchair in the middle of the gravel parking lot, face tilted up toward the gray sky like she was waiting for something none of us could see. I almost drove past her. I wish I could tell you I stopped because I'm a good man. But the truth is I stopped because something about the way she sat there reminded me of the night my wife died. That same stillness, that same surrender. My name is Thomas Callahan. I'm 62 years old. I own the largest cattle ranch in Brewster County, Texas. And for the past 3 years, I've been living like a ghost in my own life. I pulled my truck to the side of the road and rolled down the window. You need help. The girl turned her head slowly. She couldn't have been more than 16. Her dark hair was plastered to her face and her clothes were soaked through. But her eyes, those eyes held something I recognized, something hard and broken and desperate all at once. I need a ride home, she said. Her voice was steady, too steady for a kid sitting alone in the rain. Where's home? She pointed east toward the canyon roads. About 12 miles that way, past the old Miller property. I knew that area. Nothing out there but dust and silence and abandoned dreams. What are you doing out here by yourself? Waiting, she said simply. The bus never came. I should have called someone, should have driven to the sheriff's office and let them handle it, but something in me wouldn't let me leave her there. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the emptiness that had lived in my chest since Margaret took her last breath. Get in, I said. I stepped out into the rain and walked around to her side. She watched me approach with wary eyes, her hands gripping the armrests of her wheelchair. I'm not going to hurt you, I said. That's what everyone says. She was right to be cautious. This world has taught young girls to be afraid of men like me. Wealthy men, powerful men, men who think they can take whatever they want. My name's Thomas, I said. Thomas Callahan. Something flickered in her expression, recognition, or maybe fear. I couldn't tell which. I know who you are, she said quietly. Then you know I'm not going to hurt you. She laughed. It was a bitter sound, too old for her young face. I know you own half this county. I know your wife died 3 years ago, and I know something else too, Mr. Callahan. My hand stopped on the handles of her wheelchair. What's that? She looked up at me, rain streaming down her cheeks like tears. I know what really happened to her. The world went silent. The rain kept falling. But I couldn't hear it anymore. I couldn't hear anything except my own heartbeat, loud and desperate in my ears. I stood there in the rain like a fool, my hands frozen on that wheelchair. What did you just say? The girl's eyes never left mine. You heard me. You don't know anything about my wife. Margaret, she said. Her name was Margaret. She had red hair and green eyes, and she drove a silver Lexus. She was wearing a blue dress the night she died. The same blue as the Texas sky at dusk. My throat closed. The police report hadn't mentioned the dress. The newspapers hadn't either. Only 3 people in the world knew what Margaret was wearing that night. Me, the coroner, and whoever was there when she died. How do you know that? Because I saw her, Mr. Callahan. I saw everything. I lifted her into my truck without another word. My hands were shaking, but I managed to fold the wheelchair and slide it into the bed. When I climbed behind the wheel, the girl was staring straight ahead, her wet clothes dripping onto my leather seats. I didn't care about the seats. I didn't care about anything except the words she'd just spoken. Start talking, I said. Not here, not yet. You can't just say something like that and then drive me home first, please. There was something in her voice, something small and scared beneath all that bravado. She was just a kid, I reminded myself. A paralyzed kid sitting alone in the rain. Whatever she knew, whatever she'd seen, she was still just a child. What's your name? I asked. Lily Monroe. Monroe. The name tugged at something in my memory, but I couldn't place it. How old are you, Lily? 16. And you live out past the Miller property, alone? With my grandmother. She's sick. That's why I need to get home. I pulled onto the highway, windshield wipers fighting against the downpour. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The silence was heavy, filled with all the things we weren't saying. For 3 years, I'd been told my wife's death was an accident. A single-car crash on a remote canyon road. No witnesses, no explanation, just Margaret gone forever and me left behind to wonder why. She'd been acting strange in those final weeks. Secretive, distracted. I'd assumed it was stress from her charity work. She was always taking on too much, always trying to save the world one broken soul at a time. But what if it was something else? What if she'd been afraid? How did you end up in that wheelchair? I asked. Lily's hands tightened in her lap. Car accident 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be, it wasn't your fault. The way she said it made me wonder whose fault it was. The rain began to ease as we turned onto the canyon road. This was the same road where Margaret had died. The same road where they'd found her car wrapped around a pine tree. It was right up there, Lily said softly, pointing toward a curve ahead. That's where I saw her. My foot pressed harder on the gas without me meaning to. My heart was racing now, pounding against my ribs like it wanted to escape. The curve approached slowly, haunted by memory. I'd driven this road 100 times since Margaret died, punishing myself, looking for answers in the skid marks and broken guardrails. But I'd never found anything except my own grief, echoing back at me from the canyon walls. "Pull over," Lily said. "Please." I did. The truck came to rest on the shoulder, engine idling, rain pattering softly against the roof. Lily stared out the window at the curve. Her reflection was ghostly in the glass. "I used to be able to walk," she said. "Before the accident, I mean. I was on the track team at school. I was fast, really fast. My coach said I could get a scholarship if I kept at it." "What happened?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I was walking home from a friend's house. It was late, after midnight. I'd snuck out and I didn't want my grandmother to catch me, so I took the canyon road. It's shorter if you cut through the woods. I waited. I heard the car before I saw it, coming fast, too fast for these curves. I hid in the bushes because I didn't want anyone to see me. And then I saw the headlights and I saw the silver Lexus and I saw her. Margaret." Lily nodded. "She wasn't alone, Mr. Callahan. There was another car behind her, chasing her." The words hit me like a physical blow. Chasing her? A black truck, big, it kept getting closer, flashing its lights. She was trying to get away from it. I could see her through the windshield. She looked so scared. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. And then what? The truck rammed her, right there at the curve. It pushed her into the guardrail and she went over. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Everything I'd believed about that night was crumbling around me. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "Because of what happened next." She turned to look at me and I saw tears streaming down her face now, mixing with the rain that still dampened her skin. The truck stopped. A man got out. He walked to the edge of the road and looked down at the wreck, and then he saw me. "He saw you." I tried to run, but he was faster. He caught me at the edge of the woods. He told me that if I ever said a word about what I saw, he would kill my grandmother. He would kill everyone I loved, and then he threw me into the ravine. "That's how you ended up paralyzed." She nodded. "I laid there for 6 hours before someone found me. The doctors said it was a miracle I survived." "Who was he, Lily? Who was the man?" She looked away, back toward the curve where my wife had died. "I don't know his name, but I'd recognize his face anywhere. I see it every time I close my eyes." We sat in silence as the weight of her words settled over us. I thought about Margaret, about the woman I'd loved for 30 years, about her laugh and her kindness and the way she'd always seen the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. Someone had chased her down this road. Someone had murdered her, and then they'd tried to silence the only witness by throwing a 14-year-old girl into a ravine. "I have to know who did this," I said. "I know, that's why I was waiting for you." I looked at her sharply. "Waiting for me." Lily nodded slowly. "I've been watching you, Mr. Callahan, for months. I see you drive this road almost every day. I knew eventually I'd get the chance to talk to you." "Why now? Why today?" "Because my grandmother is dying. She has cancer. The doctors say she has maybe a month left, and when she goes, I'll have no one, no family, no protection. If that man finds out I'm alone, he'll come back to finish what he started." Her voice was steady, but I could hear the terror beneath it. "So you need my help. I need someone to believe me." I went to the police after it happened. I told them everything. They said I was confused, said the trauma had made me imagine things. They said your wife's death was an accident, case closed. They didn't investigate. They sent one deputy to ask me some questions. He seemed real interested in what I had to say, wrote everything down, and then nothing happened. It all just disappeared. A cold suspicion began forming in my mind. "This deputy, do you remember what he looked like?" Lily turned pale. "Big guy, bald, had a scar on his left hand like a burn mark, and he had these eyes, cold eyes, like there was nothing behind them." I knew those eyes, I knew that scar. Deputy Frank Morrison had been one of the first responders to Margaret's accident. He'd been the one to call me that night, voice full of practiced sympathy. He'd been the one to tell me my wife was dead. "Frank Morrison," I said. Lily's sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know. "That's him," she whispered. "That's the man who killed your wife." The world tilted beneath me, a man I'd known for 20 years, a man I'd trusted, a man who'd sat in my house and drank my coffee and told me how sorry he was for my loss. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why would he do this?" "I don't know, but there has to be a reason, something your wife knew, something she found out." Margaret had been acting strange in those final weeks, secretive phone calls, late nights at her office. She told me it was charity work, but now I wondered. "She was investigating something," I said slowly. "I think she found something she wasn't supposed to find." "Then we need to find it too," Lily said, "before they find us." I looked at this brave, broken girl, and I made a decision. I drove Lily home that night. Her grandmother's house was small and weathered, but there were flowers in the window boxes and a light burning in the kitchen. Someone still cared here. Someone was still fighting. I'm going to find the truth, I told her, and I'm going to make sure you're safe. Lily looked at me with those old young eyes. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Because my wife would have helped you, because that's who she was, and because it's time I started being the man she always believed I could be. It took 3 months, 3 months of digging through Margaret's files, 3 months of following Frank Morrison and documenting his movements, 3 months of piecing together a conspiracy that reached deeper than I'd ever imagined. Margaret had discovered that Morrison was running a protection racket, using his badge to extort money from vulnerable people throughout the county. She'd been gathering evidence, preparing to expose him, and when he found out, he'd silenced her. The night I finally had enough evidence, I didn't go to the local police. I went straight to the FBI. Morrison was arrested at his home, still wearing his uniform. The look on his face when they put him in handcuffs was almost worth the years of grief he'd caused. Almost. Lily testified at the trial. She sat in that courtroom in her wheelchair, 16 years old and braver than anyone I'd ever known, and she told the world what she'd witnessed. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Morrison will spend the rest of his life in prison. But that's not the end of this story. After the trial, I asked Lily what she was going to do. Her grandmother had passed 2 weeks earlier, peaceful and proud that her granddaughter had finally been believed. Lily had no family left, nowhere to go. I don't know, she said. Foster care, I guess. What if you had another option? She looked at me, confused. My wife and I never had children, I said. The ranch is too big for one old man, and I could use someone to keep me honest, someone brave, someone who doesn't give up. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to, I want to. She broke down then, sobbing in a way I don't think she'd let herself sob in years. All the fear and loneliness and pain came pouring out. And I held her, this girl who'd lost everything and still found the courage to fight for the truth. Today, Lily is 19. She's studying criminal justice at the state university. She wants to be a prosecutor, wants to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. She reminds me so much of Margaret that sometimes it takes my breath away. I'm not a ghost anymore. The ranch feels alive again, filled with purpose and hope and the sound of laughter I thought I'd never hear again. Margaret would be proud. That thought used to bring only pain. Now it brings peace. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and visit the channel for more real-life stories.